Imagine a grain so packed with nutrients that NASA picked it as a top choice for keeping people alive and healthy while traveling through space. It has more protein than beef, more calcium than milk, and way more iron than spinach. It is the only grain on the planet providing every essential amino acid in one tiny seed. Experts at the United Nations took a hard look at every grain crop out there and found this one has better protein than any other. Traditional cereal around. For 6,500 years, it was the backbone of empires. It fueled the legendary warriors of the greatest civilizations across the Americas. Millions of folks on 2 continents relied on it as their main food source. But in 1521, a Spanish general ordered every single field to be burned. He even made it a death penalty crime to grow it or save its seeds. We mostly missed out ever since. Subscribe for more secrets. Our story starts in Mexico, 6,500 years before Hernán Cortés ever set foot on this soil. The early Popoloca people were busy taming crops in thin, dusty soil that today's big farms would call totally worthless. They weren't just picking between good and better options. They were choosing between what lived and what died. In that harsh land, one plant did what no other crop could manage. It thrived in drought and heat, growing in soil so poor it would kill wheat. Just one plant could pump out 60,000 seeds. You could grind those seeds into flour, pop them, or boil up some porridge. Folks made them into cakes, fermented drinks, or just ate them raw, by the handful. Plus, the leaves make great cooked greens between harvests. No waste and no replanting needed. Hit that like button if you love sustainable farming. They called it huautli. By the time the Aztec Empire dominated Mesoamerica, this crop stood with corn and beans as a main pillar of their world. It wasn't a side dish or luxury, it was the foundation, in the local language. Its name has no other root. It stands alone because the plant itself was unique. Nothing else compared. The Aztec capital brought in an estimated 20,000 tons of it every year as tribute from 17 different provinces. Workers carried it 30 miles a day along stone paths just to deliver the grain. In pure volume, it nearly matched their corn. 200,000 people ate it during just one annual festival. Meanwhile, way over in the Andes Mountains, down in modern Peru, the Inca grew their own special variety called kiwicha. Different place, different people, and they farmed it the same. Both cultures discovered the same amazing plant through totally different paths. Over in the high Himalayas of India, farmers growing it at peak elevations called it ramdana. That name literally translates to grain sent by God. No marketing team named this stuff. It was named by the folks who ate it. For generations, because they knew exactly how much it helped them. Down in the Caribbean, they have been cooking the leaves for centuries, using a name that still lives in island kitchens to this very day. They call it callaloo. The name shifted as it crossed the big oceans. It stays a symbol of survival. Subscribe for more lost farm secrets. This plant's legacy keeps growing. Have you ever tried it? Let me know below. 4 ancient cultures, split by oceans and mountains, all found this plant. They all picked this same crop. And boy, were they right. Now, Amaranth nutrition is no joke. Just 1 cup of cooked grain gives you 9 grams of complete protein. That means every single amino acid your body needs. Things your body can't make itself. Beef has about that same amount per cup, but costs 10 times more land and water to grow. Meanwhile, Amaranth contains 3 times the calcium of most grains. Plus, it is packed with more iron than a pile of spinach. It is even the only grain with real vitamin C. Its protein is so well balanced that scientists actually call it the closest plant protein to human milk, when the United Nations called it superior. To every common cereal grain, they weren't just being nice. That was a real scientific label. But there is something else in this crop. No other grain has. A special compound we call squalene. Squalene is a healthy fat your liver makes to manage cholesterol and protect your cell membranes. As we age, production slows. Supplement companies sell it in capsules made from shark livers for $30 to $60 a bottle. Cosmetic brands use that same shark oil as a fancy moisturizer. Fishing boats harvest deep sea sharks just to get it. Amaranth seeds have the highest concentration of squalene found in any plant on Earth. It grows right from the dirt, without hurting a single shark, and without spending a single dollar by yourself. The Aztecs didn't have the word squalene back then, but they sure knew this plant. They used it to build an entire civilization on it. Smash that like button because this right here explains why you have probably never eaten it. Amaranth wasn't just food. To the Aztecs, it was sacred. During their big annual harvest festival, priests mixed ground seeds with honey. Sometimes they even used sacrificial blood to make a dough called squalene. They sculpted gods out of that dough. They carried those statues through the city streets and displayed them at the huge temples. Then thousands of people would break them apart and eat. It was a massive, sacred meal. But when Hernán Cortés finally arrived, in 1519 he saw this ceremony. He was a devout Catholic, raised on the Eucharist. That is the sacrament where holy bread and wine become the body and blood of Christ. To him, this looked way too similar for comfort. He saw grain dough shaped into a god, then everyone eating that figure together as a deep act of devotion, aimed at a god his own church called false. The ritual involved blood. A Spanish friar named Bernardino de Sahagún wrote everything down in the Florentine Codex. It is one of the best records of the Aztec world we have today, but he didn't hold back. He called the whole ritual a mockery of the Eucharist. His bosses called it a devilish imitation of their faith. They even wrote about this spiritual threat by hand in a paper that still sits in a Florence library. The conquistadors wrote the truth. They destroyed this superfood to break their spirit. Subscribe for more secrets. Growing was resistance. After the conquest in 1521, Spanish rulers banned the planting and the ritual use of amaranth. They burned every field and destroyed every last seed stock. Farmers faced harsh punishment. This wasn't just about farming policy. It wasn't about safety. It was a cold attempt at cultural erasure, meant to strip the Aztec people of their deep spiritual roots. The goal wasn't just to kill a plant you see. They wanted to kill its soul and block access to nutrition. They lost access to the most powerful and nutritious grain in the Americas. Hernán Cortés didn't just conquer people, he burned their entire food supply. But that prohibition wasn't forever. Like for more history friends, families in mountain villages across Mexico kept hiding these precious seeds. They planted tiny secret plots and passed down knowledge very quietly. That is how you share vital things when someone is watching. Leaders finally lifted the ban in 1810 after independence. That was nearly 300 years later. Just think about those 3 centuries. Farming had been totally rebuilt around wheat and European cattle. The whole food system was redesigned around these imported crops. From the milling systems to the trade routes, everything supported these new plants. Even when legal amaranth had no market left, it survived in pockets. It fed folks in villages with nothing else. Nobody called it superfood. It was seen as poor folks' food, and that kind of crop rarely gets investment. By the 1900s, scientists forgot it. Mainstream nutrition science acted like the plant didn't even exist anymore. It was growing in Mexico, the Andes, the Himalayas, and Africa, too. It spread far but stayed hidden from the modern, wealthy world. It was missing from any table where people could afford anything else. Then, in the 1970s, researcher John Robson made a discovery. At the University of Michigan, he started analyzing a few seeds. The nutritional results blew his entire research team away, folks. It had perfect protein and squalene levels no plant should have. Its amino acid profile beat out wheat, rice, and corn combined. Robson shared his data, and the Rodale Institute started their planting experiments. By the early 80s, science had finally rediscovered this incredible crop. They called it one of the most promising neglected plants on Earth. NASA even added it to their list for long space travel. That list of elite space crops was incredibly short, believe me. Still, this didn't fix our system. Hit subscribe for more secrets. This grain had survived catastrophes for over 6,000 years, yet suddenly, It was being sold in tiny bags at fancy health stores. It was marketed as a luxury for $12 a pound. Click that like button if you want to grow this yourself. Mountain villagers had grown it for pennies for 3 centuries. But now, shoppers in the city pay a premium price for it. The suppression didn't end centuries ago. It is just evolving. Big industrial farms just aren't built for amaranth anymore. There is no setup. Those seeds are tiny and need special gear. See, these plants do not all ripen at once. Normal grain mills cannot handle it without making big changes. No set market price and zero government help for this crop, plus no seed supply chain. What Cortez burned down back then, our modern food system just ignores today. Luckily, nobody is banning it now. Go grab a seed packet at your local garden center. You can even grow it in a pot on your porch. One plant makes more seeds than you can eat all year. Each tiny seed is packed with nutrition. Nutrients the United Nations says beat any other grain you eat. And it loves tough, poor soil. It handles drought and needs zero fertilizer. It bounces back from nothing. The Aztecs used to call it huautli. Incas knew it as kiwicha. Over in the Himalayas, folks called it grain from God. Down in the Caribbean, they still cook those leaves, using a name that outlasted 500 years of being forgotten. Most people around the world today still just call it a weed. Back in 1521, Cortez saw a food that fed civilizations for 6,000 years, decided it was too dangerous, and burned it all down. 5 centuries later, the best grain on earth is sold by the ounce to folks with money to burn. Yet the big farming system to feed everyone was never built. That ban worked because we forgot how to use it. That wisdom stayed buried, but it does not have to stay that way. A pack of seeds costs less than a coffee. It grows in the worst soil on your farm. You get more protein per square foot here than from any other crop you plant. It keeps coming back year after year. It grows right from its own dropped seeds. Every great culture thrived on this plant. Those who lost it had it taken away by force. Now you know the secret. If this story changed how you see your food, listen close. Do not let this knowledge vanish again. Subscribe to Lost Farm Secrets right now. Ring that notification bell. Every like and share helps us beat the algorithm. Join us to save what they tried to hide. The next secret opens soon.